Hi guys, welcome back. I've been asked by many of my viewers, how do I use my watches? How do I clean them? How do I store them? How do I maintain them? And it doesn't matter whether a watch is expensive or whether a watch is cheap. If we get into a good routine in this hobby, then in the long term, our watches are going to look after us. So stick around as I share the 5 things that I do to take care of my watches. Welcome back everybody. So basically this video is designed to share not only to newbies but also to even seasoned people some things that they might not know or might not practice when it comes to watches and collecting and how we store them, how we clean them, how we maintain them, all the rest. So I have 5 things that I do to take care of my watches, and others might have other things that they do, but for me, I found that over the years these things have worked, and I've always ended up with watches that look fantastic, stand the test of time, and in the long term, the watches look after me. So first and foremost, number 1 on top of my list, keep your watches clean. You see, watches are designed to be used, and throughout the week they get oils from our skin, they get grit, grime from our daily habits, pollutants from the environment. All these contaminants, they basically get onto the surface of a watch. And if we were not to clean a watch, basically what happens is that it becomes unhygienic, but also those contaminants will eventually eat away at the materials, eat away and corrode the materials that the watch is designed on. I know it's long term, but it's good to have a clean watch. So number 1, keep it clean. And there's many ways of cleaning watches, and the method that I use is pretty much very simple. Let me explain. So if you have a look, we'll grab this watch, have a look at it. What I do, the first thing again, check that the screw down crown is actually tightened in. So I'll double check that. Yep, that's fine, not a problem. Then I'll remove the strap. Being leather, I don't want to get the strap wet. So I'll remove the leather strap, nice quick release, take it away. And now we just have the watch head. We take the watch to some nice lukewarm running water. I put some very mild detergent on the watch. The toothbrush, nice and gentle, and don't be scared, get into every nook and cranny. Remember, this watch has got oils and contaminants from the skin. It's nice to have a fresh watch. It's nice to clean it. So getting into all the little nooks and crannies, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. At the end of the day, we're going to end up with a watch that's fantastic. Once we finish, we just give it a nice final rinse with the lukewarm water, and as you can see, it's nice and clean, and we'll transfer the watch over to our nice soft towel. Now that we have the watch here, use the microfiber towel, give it a nice wipe clean, nice and gentle, and look, basically we're going to end up with a beautifully pristine looking watch. And the reverse process, we basically get the watch head and replace the straps as we remove them. Very simple process, especially with something like this, which is quick release. One click, straight in, away you go, turn it over and do the other side. So, doing something like this makes me happy because I end up with a watch that's continually clean. I might do this once a week, I might do this once a month, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. At the end of the day, what we do and how we do it depends upon you and your individual circumstances. You might want to clean this weekly, you might want to clean this monthly, it doesn't matter, but follow a nice process. I do it, I find that I'm happy. Okay, that brings us over to number 2. Never shower with your watches. I will never go into a hot shower with a watch on. I know a lot of guys do out there. For me personally, I've never done it. I don't want to start doing it. And I just think that hot water and watches really don't mix. Even soap scum and all the rest. Remember, you've got a watch on your wrist and you're having a shower, and whatever body oils you're cleaning and scum it's coming off, it's going to get into the watch. It eventually will get into the watch. And even so, it's nice to take the watch off and clean your skin. I mean, I know the watches can handle it. Many of them that have got screw down crowns, that have got a high water resistance, can handle all that. But personally, I wouldn't put it in the shower, as I don't trust the watch with, hot water and all the rest, hot and cold, hot and cold. You might end up with some condensation problems depending on how expensive or cheap the watch is as well. So that's my number 2. Number 3. If I swim with a watch, if I go swimming in the ocean or in a pool that's got chlorine or salt water and so forth, the watch needs to be cleaned. There's salt that accumulates underneath the bezel. It might freeze the bezel up. There's salt that goes into the nooks and crannies, into your spring bars. Maybe even if you've got I've got a rubber strap on this, but if you were to have a stainless steel strap, it'd go into your little links and all the rest. So it has to be cleaned. So the way to do that is very simple. You're going to need a couple of things. Number one, some dishwashing liquid, very mild. A toothbrush. With the toothbrush, make sure that it's got very soft bristles. It doesn't matter what the brand is as long as it's soft. Some microfiber cloths, as you can see, a nice towel, soft towel, as well as a container that can hold clean, fresh water. Now, what I do with my watches, first and foremost, is check that the screw down crown is screwed in, especially watches that I dive with. So if I'm going to use a watch that I'm going to go swimming in salt water, something like this, I'd screw down the crown, I put it into cold, fresh water like this, and I'm going to leave it 5, 10, 15 minutes. The thing can sit there until the water starts to break down those salt molecules. So when I've finished with the duration of the 5 to 10 minutes, what I'll do, I'll take the watch out, give it a little bit of a dripping session in there, as you can see, get a little paper towel, and I'll move it across towards the sink. Now, with the water running lukewarm, what I'll do with a watch is put a little bit of mild dishwashing detergent on the actual watch. Use my toothbrush and gently just scrub away. Just clean, clean, clean. And don't be scared to clean the watch. A watch is, like I said, designed to be used every day. So get into all the little nooks and crannies, all the little crevices, rinse, repeat, until you're satisfied that that watch is now clean. I mean, you must remember, we've used this watch in the ocean or at a pool with chlorinated water or salt water. So keeping a watch clean will avoid corrosion, will in the long term look after our watches. So, 5, 10 years down the track, the watch still looks and operates as new. So once we've finished doing that, we just basically rinse it through some nice lukewarm water. You can use cold. I like to use lukewarm water. I just feel that with the soap it seems to do a nicer job. Then there you go. So once we've rinsed the watch, we take it across and place it on a nice towel, soft towel, and then with a microfiber cloth that we have, we gently wipe it and clean it. Give it a nice dab, nice all the way around until the watch is basically clean. And I usually let the watch dry 20-30 minutes afterwards, leave it on the towel itself, come back, and the watch is perfect. And away you go, you've got a clean watch. My number 4 thing that I do to take care of automatic or mechanical watches. I never wear a watch when I'm doing activities, excessive activities, things like contact sports, things like building or using a drill or a hammer, something that's going to have vibration on my hand, something that's going to basically shake this thing out at high frequency. It's actually not good for the movement. I don't recommend it. I have tried it in the past. There was a couple of watches that I actually played tennis with many years ago, and I found that the regulation of the watch fell out. A watch that was gaining like 3 or 4 seconds a day was fantastic. I went and used it playing tennis for a couple of hours, and I got home and the watch was now gaining 55 seconds. So I had to regulate the watch again. So I don't recommend it. I don't think it's good for the movement inside. I might be wrong, but for me, I try to use automatic and mechanical watches with a little bit of sympathy, with a bit of love. It is after all a finely tuned instrument, fine tolerances, with gears and springs, and it's nice to baby a watch. We can be rough. They have got things like shock resistance, like die shock in something like this. But again, it doesn't give us an excuse to just throw the things around. That's what quartz watches are designed for, not automatic or mechanical. So that's the number 4 thing that I do, is look after the watches and don't play heavy duty sports or build and service a car, do mechanical things that are going to require vibrations, and all the rest. So this brings me to my number 5th point, storage. How do I store my watches? There's many different ways we can store them, watch boxes, pouches, wraps, travel cases, all the rest. For me personally, I like to use some watch boxes, but there's different types, and some of the mistakes that I made when I was starting out to collect, I learned and I basically started tweaking little things. So hopefully I can help people here by showing you some things. Have a look at this. This is a standard watch box, as you can see, and if you have a look, it can hold about 6 watches in here. Nice. But the only problem I found with something like this, the dividers are very thin. So if you have a look at watches here, they're almost touching. they're almost touching. So if I was to have relatively big size watches or a variety, there's the potential of they're going to be grinding and scratching on top of each other. And you know, if you want to look after your watches and ideally have them, you know, in good nick and so forth, good condition, we should try to avoid something like this. Here's another example. So let me put this aside. So there's that one, but here's another example of a very similar one. And this particular one, as you can see, has got dividers that are big. So again, we've got very big watches, 40, 44, 45 mil watches in here, and they're not touching. So something like this, they're not going to touch. And I'll even take this out just to show you guys. There you go. So there's a lot more space between the dividers. That's something I learned from trial and error. You know, I used to buy things like this to store my watches, and I found that I damaged the sides, especially around here when a crown would sort of touch, you know, around there, and it's just not nice. So investing in the right type of boxes, and they all look the same, but they don't all perform the same. So there's also another thing. There's one thing in getting boxes and storing your watches in, but where do you actually store the watch box itself? You see, putting these away in your watch boxes is quite nice, and I used to just store them here and there. And being a photographer, I found that keeping things in the right place, in a proper, the proper humidity, the proper temperature, can actually prolong the life of all of your collection. Whether it's you know, whether it's anything, whether it's electronics, whether it's hard drives, whether it's camera equipment, whether it's watches. And what I do, and what I've been doing for the past 15, 20 years, is basically I get the watch box, I get the entire watch box, or how many watch boxes I have, and I store them in what's called a dehumidifying cabinet. And what this cabinet does is basically allows the temperature and the humidity to stay as a constant. So by doing something like that, you're going to preserve the life of the electronics, you're going to preserve the life of the gearing, corrosion, all the rest. And for me, it's just a good habit. Maybe I'm just anal, maybe I just like to go that extra mile and do this stuff, but for me, I found that it's given me some really good results. I found that in 5 or 10 years, I might pull the watch out of the cabinet. It's fantastic. It works the exact same way it did 10 years ago, and I might not have worn it for 10 years. So these are the sort of habits that I like to do. Like I said, other people might have different habits. It's all independent, individual. I hope this stuff can help some people. I hope it's sort of shed some light, but look after your watches, guys. I mean, we collect them, we spend money on watches for a reason, and it doesn't matter how expensive or cheap. Like I said, it's good to look after them. It's good to be able to store them in the right way so that we can enjoy them for many, many years to come. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. And if you like what you saw, you know, subscribe, maybe hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.